welcome back, everybody.
Heidi, Heidi ho! Heidi, Heidi, Heidi ho! So good to be here on a nice sunny day here in here in the summertime.
Yeah.
The good old summertime. We're doing this from a terrace, a real lover's leap here. The penthouse apartment. And we've never done a show from my place before, so here we go. I wanted a nice view, but trouble is we don't really have any lighting here. So unless you call the sun your lighting, and the sun is the best lighting of them all. What happens is it looks like everything gets whited out over here, and we were just shadows when we first started, so we moved it a little bit, and now you can at least make out what we look like. But it's a penthouse apartment, and the top floor, and it's a nice view. So anyway, but instead, while we have a nice view, you can look at this door here. So anyway, so tell me about what you have any plans in the theater or anything coming up? Oh wait, I guess the 4th of July is next week.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll be auditioning for Oliver after that.
Oliver?
Yes.
Oliver Stone? Oh, yeah, he's a good director. Don't all his conspiracy theories about JFK and
it's Oliver the musical.
Oliver Stone made a musical? Gosh. The Doors, I know. No, I know Oliver, and I saw it when I was a kid, and it was really good, and it won all these awards. And I remember. Oh, listen. I know the book better than I know the musical. I have seen the musical in high school. We did the high school musical of Oliver, and there's the movie, of course, which I saw first, and I think it was 1970 or close to then, won Best Picture of the Year. Had Mark Lester and Jack Wilde. And the actor who played Fagin was very good, Ron Moody. He will always be known for that part. Oliver Reed is in it, whose last film was Gladiator.
Yeah.
And he's the villain in it. He plays Bill Sikes. And the story of Oliver Twist is the same as in the musical Oliver. The songs are so good. Consider yourself at home.
Consider yourself part of the family. You're making yourself so strong. It's hard to get along. Consider yourself at home. Consider yourself part of the furniture. La 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 la.
It's clear we're gonna get along. I'm too old to play. I guess Oliver is good for the children's theater because a lot of parts for kids.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's like Annie. It's like a male version of Annie. All boys. And I gotta tell you a funny story about Oliver. My mom is from Ireland, and then she moved to London, and then she moved to New York, and then she moved to Virginia, and that's where I came. And then I came in the picture. So anyway, I was trying to tell. Mom would always tell us these stories about the old country and everything. We were so fascinated because we'd never been anywhere. She never took us back either. So anyway, I said, Mom was a nurse. I said, Mom, I used to tell my little sisters, I said, Mom, she wasn't always a nurse. When she was living in London, she needed to make ends meet. And she was a chimney sweep. Jumping on and Mom, she was probably jumping on the rooftops with the broom. Like Dick Van Dyke. Only her accent was better. And then they said, "Is that true? Is that true?" I said, "Well, it was true. She wasn't a chimney sweep very long. Chimney sweeps don't pay very much. So she had to make ends meet. So she after she was a chimney sweep in London, she became a pickpocket. I must have had Oliver and Mary Poppins smashed in my head. So don't try to put one over on Mom. And of course, I think it got back to Mom maybe a week later. Is that true? You used to be a pickpocket in London? So anyway, oh, there was a trivia contest once, and I don't really remember the names of people in plays or musicals very much, but the first question was, what musical stars a character named Bill Sikes? And Kevin and Oliver said correct. No one else knew that, and I only knew that because I remember Oliver Twist.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember the movie musical.
Yeah.
But and food, glorious food, all those great songs. Jack Wilde was so good in that show, and he almost won the Oscar as the Artful Dodger. And he in the original version of Oliver in London, it was on the Ed Sullivan Show the same night the Beatles made their appearance, and Davy Jones of the Monkees was in the London production, and he was in New York on in I guess Consider Yourself they were doing, and I don't know what they were doing, but he was there, and so people think of the Monkees as the fake Beatles. but he was on the Ed Sullivan Show before the Beatles were on the same episode. It's a Oliver's a fine show, and let's see, I've been listening in the CD. I've been listening to Elvis. Of course I've listened to Elvis, but I've been listening to his last, I guess one of his last televised concert. But I have the CD of it, and it's the Hawaiian one, the Fat Elvis. Was that? And if you watch it, it's you hear it, he sounds fine, but if you see it, you see him all bloated up and shortness of breath. But the show is good. He still performs, puts on a good show and everything.
Yeah.
But he sings all these songs in it that he wasn't famous. I mean, he sang his hits. I like at the beginning he says we're going to try to sing all your favorites tonight, and he'd sing like really fast. He'd sing them like maybe 2 or 3 stanzas, like medleys, and he'd go boom, 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 and he would sing. He sang like a whole lot of shaking going on. He sang I Can't Stop Loving You. He sings like cover songs that you don't remember him ever singing, and he sings it on. And of course he sings, Hound Dog, and other songs and Big Hunk of Love. I mean, he sings so many songs in this show, and he sings. He would go to Hawaii to do these shows because Hawaii he made a couple of movies in Hawaii too. He never really, other than going in the Army, never went to performed outside of America because, as we know from the movie about Elvis, Colonel Parker was an illegal alien and did not want to leave the country because he might have a hard time getting back in. So that's why, and the fact that there's all the stories about Elvis that he happily let Elvis go into the Army, Colonel Parker, because he wanted to distract any attention on him. If he made a fuss, they would look into his background. He jumped off a ship or something and swam to the shore. He's from Holland, Colonel Parker. But obviously I've never got to see Elvis in person. I have a couple of friends who, a little older than me, who did catch Elvis during that last tour. Came to Richmond a couple of times, and I think I mentioned this before. It was like $45, which is a lot of money in those days. Like to see the Rolling Stones was like $6. So to see Elvis, $45 was quite a chunk of change. But now you look back on it, gosh, I wish I should. And that is if you could get the tickets, because a lot of it's what the market can bear. I had a friend who was a big Barbra Streisand fan, and I asked her, "Are you going to see Barbra Streisand?" And she said, "No, I'm not going to go see Barbara." And then she said, "I can't afford Barbra Streisand." It was something like, in those days, I think the price of the tickets was $500, but then they were going for even more than that. Now with Taylor Swift and all these people, they're charging and then sporting events and stuff. They're charging so much at Broadway shows because they can. Well, you're not going to buy the ticket because you're buying memories. Really, when you go on a trip, you say, "Oh gosh, it's so expensive to go to Bimini or somewhere." But then when you look back on it, you say, "Well, I'm glad I went." I don't need the money that bad. But I've been listening to the. You remember Ann-Margret? She was in. I think she had an affair with Elvis during a movie Viva Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And Elvis was kind of, in those days, was not ready to settle down. He was having too much fun. And I don't know if she wanted to marry Elvis, but she wound up marrying a man called Roger Smith, I think. Roger Davis. He was the guy on 77 Sunset Strip. There was an Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. And he got very sick before he died, like the last 5-6 years. It was with myasthenia gravis, and she took care of him. Now, Elvis's wife, kind of threw him to the wolves. Went off with the karate instructor, and it's kind of cynical to say this, but I said if he would have, if Elvis would have married, instead of Priscilla, married Ann-Margret, he'd be 85 years old today.
Yeah.
Meaning he wouldn't have been. She would have been a good wife for him. So tell me about Ann-Margret.
Well, she was a really good dancer, and
she's Swedish.
Yeah, she's Swedish.
Yeah.
She was actually born here in America.
Yeah.
But I think she's part Swedish or something.
Yeah.
Like
Her real name is Olsen.
Yeah.
Swedish name. Not like Jimmy Olsen of the Superman comics. But Ann-Margret, first time I ever heard of Ann-Margret, obviously, was on the Flintstones' Ann-Margret. And it really was her doing the voice, yeah. And but she was always good. First two movies she made were gangbusters. It was first movie was called A Pocket Full of Miracles. You can catch all these on TCM. Frank Capra's last film with Bette Davis about Apple Annie. My sister's favorite movie. One of my sister's favorite movies. I mean, one of my sisters, her favorite. I have a lot of sisters. Her favorite movie is A Pocket Full of Miracles, and Ann-Margret's that's her first movie. It's Frank Capra's last film, and then she was in Bye Bye Birdie.
Yeah, Bye Bye Birdie.
And
I remember her.
She was, I think she had. It was not written as a big part, and then what happened was, she was so popular in the movie I just mentioned that they expanded her part. They wrote new scenes for her. And Bye Bye Birdie's a really good movie. With Paul Lynde and as the father, and Ed Sullivan it was the first show I was in in a musical. I played Ed Sullivan, who actually plays himself in the movie, and then Dick Van Dyke, of course. And, but Ann-Margret is in that, and then years later, she's in all these crazy motorcycle movies and and musicals and
I think she rode a motorcycle Viva Las Vegas.
Yeah. She was very big red hair on her.
She was standing up on a bicycle.
Yeah.
Motorcycle.
She was in the movie Carnal Knowledge, which was against not a typical movie for her, where she played a kind of a sad, over the hill type of girl.
I think she
was only like 30 years old or 32 in the movie. Yeah.
I think she played that remake of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Oh yeah, she was in that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I know it. No, I know this movie she was in. It was called Tommy.
Oh.
And it was about the pinball wizard and the deaf, dumb, and blind kid. Yeah, and Roger Daltrey, and that was we could. I want to talk about that for the whole hour next time, because I could talk at length about Tommy. Yeah. But she's in that, and she's also in. That's one of my favorite movies, Tommy. It means a lot to me, that movie, Tommy. So then, then she's in a movie with Anthony Hopkins called Magic, and then she's had a pretty good career. You see her. She came. There's a you probably remember Dolly Parton in the Best Little Whorehouse in Texas,
yes.
Miss Mona. And when it came to Richmond, the traveling, she was in it as the Dolly Parton character, Miss Mona. So I had to go see her in it, but I didn't get a chance to meet her after the show. But I saw her on stage. It was great to see her. And she was actually not young at the time. She's probably in her 70s.
Yeah.
And she don't look like she always did. So it was great. She sang all those songs, you know, from that play. Yeah, the Best Little Outhouse in Texas.
I think she stole Hard Candy Christmas in that one.
Yes.
Maybe I'll lose some weight. I used to thought that was really funny when she sung that part.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll lose some weight.
Dolly or yeah, Dolly.
Dolly.
Dolly, the movie is kind of controversial because they changed the ending and they added some of Dolly's songs in there, like "I Will Always Love You" was in that movie. And I think the guys who wrote the original were very upset because it's kind of based on a true story. But but you know, we always joke in the children's theater. That's the next show we should put on, the Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. It's a good show, though. It's a good show, and the movie with Bert and Dolly. When I was working in the movie theater as the doorman tearing tickets, that was our big movie that year and that summer, and so many people did not want to say the words, so they said, "Can I have a ticket to the Bert and Dolly film?" Yeah, go ahead. We know what you're talking about. Bert and Dolly.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I haven't heard so much about her. She actually is a very good performer, Ann-Margret in Las Vegas and places like that, or she used to be. And one day she actually fell something. She almost died. She fell like 15 feet from the stage and broke her jaw. And they did, or broke her. I think she did break her jaw. I don't know about. She may have broken her leg too. And they didn't think she'd make a recovery, to perform again, but she did. She did fine. So yeah, so that was that. Did you've been watching some shows? You know, there's a new MeTV now has a lot of good shows, but they also have a Cartoon Network now with all the old cartoons on it, day and night.
Yeah, I know.
I haven't found it yet, but I just want to watch the Bugs Bunny and the Woody Woodpeckers. Those are my favorites.
Yeah.
I'm the human Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
But on a bad day, I'm the human Woody Woodpecker, just getting into trouble and being an irritant.
Yeah.
But you've been watching like Growing Pains.
Yeah.
You like Growing Pains, yeah.
That show is really funny.
Well, tell me about Growing Pains for the 3 or 4 people who've never seen it, like myself.
It's about this family.
Yeah.
They have 3 kids.
Yeah.
But years later, they added a 4th kid.
Yeah.
So they have 4 kids.
Yeah.
But the first episodes, they had 3 kids.
Oh, what happened? How did they get a 4th kid? They adopt one?
No, she had one.
Oh, okay.
But
they didn't have a baby on their doorstep.
No.
They always add that to movies.
Yeah.
I'm gonna raise that kid as if he were mine.
And the oldest son always got in trouble all the time.
And that's Kirk Cameron.
Yes.
We know Kirk Cameron was a big star on that show. I think it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be Alan Thicke, the guy from Canada, with the real deep voice.
Yeah.
And he was a songwriter and a singer from Canada, a talk show host. And then, for some reason, he didn't make a go of it in America. And then he does Growing Pains and becomes a big hit.
Yeah.
It only goes to show you, you can turn these things around for you.
Yeah.
And his son is, Robin Thicke, who's on the Masked Singer, I think, yeah, and has a few hits himself. Kirk Cameron, for some reason, I heard he was trying to transform the show into some sort of show with no edge to it. Just a kind of a generic kind of, and now we're going to show a nice family and Growing Pains, And what happened was they gave him a girlfriend, and he became very religious all of a sudden. And he still, makes all those Left Behind movies.
Yeah.
That's basically what he does now. And I guess he's a minister too. What happened was he found out after the girl was on it for a year, I think, that Julie McCullough, I think was her name.
Yeah.
She was I don't know how he didn't figure this out. She was in Playboy centerfold. She was a Playboy centerfold or something, and he wanted her fired immediately. And I think they did, and you never heard from her again. But a lot of people felt that was, that's going to keep women from posing in Playboy. If they're going to be cut like that,
Yeah.
these are the good time girls we want to keep in keep in the limelight. We want to encourage that.
Yeah.
Not the party. We want to encourage the party girls. But
Yeah.
but nevertheless, I guess they all say after the show, almost not too long after the show, Alan Thicke died almost suddenly, I think. And that mother on there was very nice, Joanna Kearns.
Yeah.
She was very, very, very good.
Who died?
Alan Thicke is dead.
Alan Thicke. Oh yeah.
Yeah, the old man on there. And I think, didn't they have like a girl on there that had a lot of drug problems in real life? And then the boy,
Tracy Gold.
and the little boy on there was one of the first young people to come out as gay, I think.
Yeah.
So the show, and then Kirk Cameron, probably his head explodes when all this is going on.
Yeah.
So now nothing shocks me anymore. But in these back I guess during the Reagan era, those things kind of were a big deal. So
Yeah.
I like to think things at least in how people think about stuff, open-minded. You got to be open-minded. I mean, it's one thing to have be old-fashioned, but then sooner or later you got to get with the program.
Yeah.
Like, for example, they have, I usually talk about this on sports shows, but, recently they have smooshed together the Negro League's baseball statistics and the Major League Baseball statistics, which were basically up until 1947 all white. So the Negro Leagues, people like Josh Gibson and Satchel Paige, now their statistics are now meshed with Joe DiMaggio and Babe Ruth and people like that. They found out he died recently, 93. Willie Mays. He was in the Negro Leagues, and now his stats in the Negro Leagues and his stats in the Major Leagues are now together, and now he's way up on home runs, almost as high as Hank Aaron and Barry Bonds and Babe Ruth. So he was like fourth all time, but I think he was fourth, and now he's moved back up to fourth because I think someone supplanted him. But I remember in the movie with Harrison Ford as Branch Rickey, it was called 42. Chadwick Boseman played Jackie Robinson, and he and the white manager, white general manager of the Brooklyn Dodgers, tells all the white players that don't want to play with Jackie Robinson, the first black African American ball player. He goes, if you don't want to play, there's the door. Leave right now. You better get with the program. There's a whole long line of white players that want to take your place, and there's also going to be a whole long line of black players that are going to take Jackie Robinson's place. So this is how things change. This is how things move forward.
Yeah.
Time moves in one direction.
Yep.
So always make sure that you that doesn't pay to. I always feel that certain politicians or certain ways in certain parts of the country, or even certain countries, they held everyone back. They don't let science do its job. They don't let I mean even Galileo and Copernicus, they couldn't tell. Well, Galileo did, but Copernicus couldn't tell the old-fashioned people that the world was not flat. It was a round globe, and that the sun did not revolve around the earth, but the earth revolved around the sun. That was heresy to say stuff like that. But once that was accepted, then all the science started. Now all the math made sense. Now all the environmental science made sense. Everything made sense. Yeah. So that's important. So keep them open mind. You know, I'm not saying you shouldn't hold on to conservative and old-fashioned beliefs. It's good to have, you know, good morals and everything.
Yeah.
Maybe things move too fast for you, but, you know, things are going to change, and you have to welcome those things. So that's that. And I guess we'll do more changes on this show.
Yeah.
in the many years to come. So thanks for having me here today.
No problem. I just want to say thank you all for tuning in, and may God bless you all.